School district tells principals to create fake curriculum to send parents after complaints of indoctrination. Prior to the pandemic, you didn't send everything home or have it available. You taught in your classroom and things were peachy keen. We are going old school. Hello and welcome to The Ordeal. If you're new to my channel, I challenge all things woke. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed and please watch the video to the very end. Apparently that is a big factor in determining whether or not YouTube promotes my videos. Right here, this says this is going old school. I don't understand what they mean by that. Is it the creating fake curriculum part that's old school? Or is it you're sending everything home that is old school? I don't know. And you know what? Honestly, this could very well be fake. I don't know how credible the Daily Wire is. This could just be clickbait, a clickbait article. Faced with complaints from parents about the indoctrination of children, an official in Rockwood School District, Missouri, instructed teachers to create two sets of curriculum, a false one to share with parents, and then the real set of curriculum focused on topics like activism and privilege, according to a memo obtained by the Daily Wire. Natalie Follert, she's a 1st through 12 literacy speech coordinator, wrote to all middle and high school principals that parents had repeatedly complained that we are pushing an agenda, we are pushing critical race theory. I had to look this one up. We are making white kids feel bad about their privilege. We are stereotyping. We are teaching kids to be social activists, and we are teaching kids to be democratic thinkers and activists. Yeah, that's what you're doing in these schools. But, you know, this really comes down to the parents. So any parents who spoke out about this, you have earned my respect in this matter. When I was a kid, my parents weren't all that involved in what I was learning in school. They did show some involvement, but they weren't like overbearing about it. My mother was part of the PTA, and there were, she'd help me with my homework sometimes and all that stuff. But they would have noticed, I think, if I was bringing home this critical race. My mother would get mad about, I had to do a project talking about my family. And my mother's like, it's none of their damn business. They don't need to know about your family or other people around you. It's none of their business. It's your private life. So this whole get them while they're young attitude that we have in our schools here, it's good that people are speaking out about this. If I had children, yeah, there's no way this would fly. I would be all over them about this. The problem was that for the first time, parents could see what teachers were telling their children thanks to virtual learning, where assignments were visible for at-home learners in a tool called Canvas. Well, most of my homework I did at home. I mean, that's why it's called homework. I didn't have a lot of time to work on stuff in class. There was some time, but mostly I just took stuff home with me, especially in the later grades in grade school, and of course, junior high school and high school. So we have a solution here. Let's see what the solution says. This doesn't mean throw out the lesson and find a new one. Just pull the resource off Canvas so parents can't see it. Oh, yeah. So be deceptive. Don't let the parents know what you're teaching your children, but the parents should be active in their children's lives. I don't understand this attitude of having a child then not raising the child. That doesn't make sense to me. I understand you're busy, you have your own goals in life, but if you want to have a child, that's a big responsibility. It's something I learned when I was very young, when I had a girlfriend who bought a big dog. That requires a lot of work because I had always been around small dogs, so I didn't know. But she's like, I made this decision to have this dog. I have to take care of it. It's the same thing with children. You make a decision to have a child, you have to be active in that child's life. Not only that, why are you having children if you don't want to be active in the child's life? If I had a child, I'd be like all over him, be like, yeah, let's go, buddy, let's do whatever. I don't want to do things with them. I want to be involved in their life. I want to know what they're going through, what they're experiencing. I want to understand where they're coming from. Keep teaching, just don't make everything visible on Canvas. This is not being deceitful. Oh, this is just doing what you have done for years. Prior to the pandemic, you didn't send everything home or have it available. You taught in your classroom and things were peachy keen. We are going old school. Yeah, there's such a thing as a lie by omission. This is a big deal. People lie by omission, right? That's a big thing that we've heard in the last 20 years in mainstream media is lies by omission. So this is what he's telling them to do. You could duplicate an entry lesson in Canvas, make 2 copies, publish one for the whole class that is a lean version of the lesson. The original that has all the stuff in it can be published and only assigned to specific students if needed. Or you could specifically email those students a copy of what they need. Okay, so here is another thing. Why are not parents going through their child's email? As a child, you should basically go, all right, well, I don't have any privacy, really. My parents are going to know everything that I do. That's just how it is. Sorry. And you might be thinking, well, what are you saying there? You want to have the nanny state? No. Just for children. I mean, obviously they might get indoctrinated into that mindset and then think that, oh, somebody's watching over me and the government has all the answers. So we'd have to teach them not to have that mindset, just understand that this is a family dynamic. The reason I say make a copy, you can publish the new one that has less information on it. Then for that kid who is all virtual and needs a full lesson, you can publish it and assign it only to that kid. Anything that could be picked apart, I would suggest using the above approach. Again, I wouldn't throw it out, but you could just give them access to the story. When you get to power imbalances, you might remove the two examples and just go over them in class, same as above. I hate that we are even having to have this conversation 29 days and counting. Okay. She referred to a cell of parents and claimed they did not know the difference between a small d Democrat country and a Democratic Party. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter, Democratic country or Democratic Party. You're teaching woke. That's what you're teaching. You're teaching people that white people are evil, that men are evil, just because that's how they are born. In addition to serving as a school administrator in Rockford in 2018, Follert was elected to the school board of a nearby school district, illustrating the way in which apathetic voters often elect those whose interests are with teachers rather than parents, and little scrutinized school board races. Shelley Willett, assistant superintendent of learning and support services, expressed regret to parents after they found out about the secret email. Yesterday, an email was sent to middle and high school English language arts teachers from the district level staff member that suggested teachers hide or alter content visible to parents in our learning management system. We want to assure you that the message was not reviewed or approved by anyone before it was sent. Asking teachers to conceal anything from parents does not reflect the mission, vision, and values of the Redwood School District and is counter to the goals set forth in our strategic plan. The way forward, she wrote. Okay, well, that's interesting. You have a strategic plan, the way forward, but that strategic plan, I imagine, includes all this woke stuff about how white people are evil. The April 23rd message said that the school district views parents as allies in the education of our children. If the parents are going to stand up against you and say, hey, look, you can't be teaching this woke crap, I don't think you're going to think of them as allies anymore. You might want to view them that way, but you're not going to think of them that way at all. We regret that this happened for many reasons, but mostly because it impacts the trust that is crucial for our partnership to be successful. Although we cannot share specifics related to a personnel matter, we can assure you that we find the email unacceptable and it is certainly being addressed, the message said. District spokesman David Morrison told the Daily Wire that in an attempt to restore trust, it would continue to post classroom materials online where parents could see it even after coronavirus triggered distance learning ended, since the technology is set up rather than reverting to what Follert called the old school way when everything was peachy keen. We also said the district would commit to training our educators on how to curate books so that teachers are giving students a wide variety of choices in their learning materials, and asking our educators to provide parents with book choices before a unit of study starts, and information about read alouds that will be done in the classroom as part of a regular communications with parent, i.e. weekly newsletters. Wrong. You do this, you're asking the children what they want to learn. Yeah, you know what I would have wanted to learn when I was in grade school? G.I. Joe. That was the thing I was interested in. G.I. Joe, Star Wars, maybe a little bit of Transformers, Masters of the Universe. That's what I cared about. I didn't care about anything else as far as school was concerned. And that's why I was a terrible student, because my parents didn't care to enforce that. I just sat at this desk at home and I didn't do my homework. And my parents didn't check my homework. And, teaching your kids is so obvious to me how farther along I could have been as a student and possibly then perform much better as an employee, as an adult earner, than I did if my parents had actually showed me how I needed to understand the subject matter, how I go about understanding the subject matter. Oh well, it's all in the past. But yeah, you got to be involved in your kids' lives. You gotta make sure they're on their studies, make sure they understand their studies, make sure they understand why they're learning this stuff. You have to put in your 2 cents and go, this is not right. This is the real way it is. And if you're going to have kids, don't be afraid to challenge what the teacher is saying. You just let your kids know, hey, you got to learn it this way for the class, but the truth is it's this way. Or here's an alternate way of looking at it, the way that I was taught it, and maybe they have new information now that's better, but this might be true too. You never know. He said it also planned the formation of a K through 12 steering committee that includes building administrators, teachers, students, and parents, finance, and human resources. Redwood School District encompasses 20,000 students across overwhelmingly white towns west of St. Louis, including Baldwin, Chesterfield, Wildwood, and the town of Fenton, which has 15 black people, or 0.3% of the population. Yeah, that's to say this. If you've never been to St. Louis, don't go. The population of St. Louis is dropping like a stone because there's so much crime in there because of minority population. I don't know why crime goes where minorities go, but that's the way it works. So people are moving out of St. Louis proper into the suburbs like crazy. The population's dropped like 50% in the last 20 years or something like that. It includes 4 high schools, all of which were ranked among the top 20 in Missouri by U.S. News and World Report. It is currently searching for a new interim superintendent. The criticized curriculum included elements like Intersectionality 101, a video produced by Learning for Justice, formerly Teaching Tolerance. Intersectionality 101, a project of the Southern Poverty Law Center. What the hell is this crap?
Intersectionality. Have you heard this word before? Even if you have, you might not know what it means. Let's take a look at it. The first part's easy enough. Intersection, a place where things come together. Intersectionality refers to the reality that we all have multiple identities that intersect to make us who we are. It also gives us a way to talk about oppressions and privileges that overlap and reinforce each other. This term dates back to the 1980s and legal scholar Kimberly Crenshaw. She noticed that we didn't have an effective way to talk about how the experiences of black women are different from the experiences of black men and of white women. How? Black women endure both gender discrimination and racial discrimination. Over the last 30 years, scholars, educators, and activists have expanded the use of the word intersectionality to talk about identities beyond race and gender. Let's look at a few examples. Jerry has a disability, and his family lives below the poverty line. He is the oldest of 10, which requires him to do a lot of caregiving, and sometimes keeps him out of school. No one in the school counseling office has talked to Jerry or his parents about his plans for after graduation. He has applied for several jobs, but never gets called back. Fatima is Muslim and recently came to the United States from Somalia. She finds that many people at her school make assumptions about her values and abilities before they speak to her. Many of her classmates think she shouldn't be at their school at all. Greta comes from an affluent family. Both her parents and grandparents went to college, and her father owns a successful business. She doesn't think about her identity very often, but she does think of herself as someone who will go to college and get a good job once she graduates. Think about Greta's situation as opposed to Fatima's or Jerry's. Fatima and Jerry are members of marginalized groups.
I like how both Fatima and Jerry are racial minorities, considered racial minorities, even though white people are not the majority race in the world. And they have this pretty blonde girl here going, oh, she's going to get everything. Well, yeah, she's a pretty blonde girl. All she has to do is bat her little eyes and she gets whatever she wants. So don't you understand how this works? Pretty girls can just go up to a man and be like, hey, you and me, let's go.
They don't get to choose whether or not to think about their identities. Greta, on the other hand, can ignore intersectionality if she wants to. Life isn't the same for everyone, even for people who share identity characteristics. By adopting an intersectional lens, we have a better opportunity to
Notice how the white person is the biggest in the group. You know, there was I can't remember what it's called now, but in the Middle Ages they used to do this. When they painted things, the aristocracy would always be bigger than the peasantry because they were of greater importance. So they were bigger in the paintings.
Understand why, and to change the institutions that help and harm us based on who we are. Want to learn more? Read our story, Teaching at the Intersections, in the summer 2016 issue of Teaching Tolerance magazine.
Wow, we'll have to take a look at that. Found a new subject matter for a video. All right, let's keep going here. One reading a sheet handed out to fifth grade class teaches that Michael Brown was murdered just steps from his mother's home in Ferguson, Missouri. Officer Darren Wilson was not charged with any wrongdoing. So Michael Brown, I mean the young man that police killed, which launched the Ferguson riots. That was over 6 years ago. People forget. People forget the details of all this stuff. But the officer was found to be justified in shooting Michael Brown, because Michael Brown violently, viciously attacked and tried to kill a police officer. He actually tried to shoot a police officer while at the same time pummeling him. A 300-pound man. I'm not a big dude. I have taken on 300-pound guys in the ring and won. But that's just because I have a lot of training, and that doesn't necessarily translate into survival on the street. So when you're in that sort of situation and a guy has got a hold of your gun and he's pointing it at you, what are you going to do? So much garbage with this. Every time the police kill a young black man, it's justified, it turns out. Every single time. It doesn't matter what black man. It turns out it's justified, apparently. Every single time. But when they kill a white man, that's fine. Got to keep doing that. They don't even talk about it. You know, and they want to say that they're hunting down the black people in this country. They're hunting down the white people in this country by that logic. Because there's way more white people killed by police than there are black people killed by police. Disruption is the new world order, is the way in which those who are denied power access power, it said. Missouri Governor Mike Parson is Republican, but the state schools have been thoroughly colonized by equity consultants. One firm alone, Education Equity Consultants, says it has at least 30 clients in the state, including the State Education Office, the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and the Missouri School Boards Association. Rockwood has also hired EEC. Oh, wow. So they're hiring this education equity consultant group that's going to be like, oh yeah, white people don't pay attention to them. They're going to be fine. You can't teach white people because they're always going to be racist, and so you can't teach them. But they're always going to have more than non-whites, except for maybe Asians. Wow. I'm sure that's what this says. I don't know. But, that's what these things say. That's what woke is. Webster School District, another EEC client, intends to revise its school studies curriculum to be based on social justice standards. Of course. Why not? Conceived by Learning for Justice. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all next time.